100.5, just for you.
From the nation's capital, a pleasant good evening, and welcome to the Wednesday, December 10th, 2025 edition of King's News Broom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one globe. I'm Stephen Compton. First, the headline. Office of the Establishment of World and Economic Crimes Court announces plans to prosecute individuals captured as child soldiers during Liberia crisis. The office executive director, Councillor Jala Babu, says heinous crimes were committed by child soldiers. Liberia National Bar Association President Councillor Bono Vaman says Liberia's main challenge remains access to legal representation, basically for the poor, the detained, the marginalized, and those living in rural areas. And also coming up in the news, Grand Crew County Senator Numine Batikwa calls for institutionalization of a National Sanitation Day as he presents a bill to the Senate plenary. And away from home, rebel forces have entered the last government-held city in mineral-rich Central Democratic Republic of Congo, in an offensive that has forced thousands to flee across the border into Burundi, residents say. And elsewhere, a senior government official in Benin has told the BBC that the leader of Sunday's failed coup is taking refuge in neighboring Togo. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, and the voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break. To be right back. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Let's now cross over to Sam Andrews for the bulletin of news.
The executive director of the Office of the Establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court has announced that all those captured as child soldiers during Liberia's civil war will be held to account upon the establishment of the court. Councillor Jalababu noted that those children, most of whom are now adults, are said to have committed heinous crimes during the country's civil war. He made that disclosure when he spoke at programs marking the 27th celebration of the International Day of Human Rights Defenders, organized by the Coalition for Human Rights Defenders in Monrovia. Also speaking, the Secretary General of the Civil Society Human Rights Platform of Liberia, Adamant Dempster, alarmed over continued threats on the lives of human rights defenders, despite assurance from the government to provide security for all Liberians. Mr. Dempster pointed out the importance of ensuring a safe environment for all Liberians, encouraging human rights defenders to keep defending the human rights of people within the context of the law. The president of the Liberia National Bar Association has described human rights as everyday essential and not abstract ideas, adding, they are in line between justice and impunity. Councillor Bonovaman said, the legal community carries a special responsibility as a custodian of the law. Their vigilance, courage, and integrity shape the public trust in the justice system. He noted that upholding human rights is not just a professional duty, but a national calling when everyone must defend the vulnerable, support the survivors of injustice, scrutinize power, and ensure that the courts remain the sanctuary for fairness and area of equity. The LNBA president, according to our judicial correspondent, stressed that one of the greatest human rights challenges in Liberia remains access to legal representation, especially for the poor, the detained, the marginalized, and those living in rural areas. Grand Crew County Senator Nimini Batikwa has submitted a bill to the Liberian Senate titled An Act to Declare the first Saturday of every month National Sanitation Day. Speaking with reporters following the submission of the bill, Senator Batikwa said it aims to declare and institutionalize the monthly nationwide cleanup campaign introduced during the administration of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf under the stewardship of former City Mayor Mary Brown. The Grand Crew County Senator added that the bill will be named after the former city mayor, Mary Brown National Sanitation Day. Senator Nimenu Batikwa noted dedicating the first 4 hours of every Saturday to clean up homes, business areas, and public spaces once play a pivotal role in promoting cleanliness, public health, and civic responsibility. In addition to the sanitation bill, Senator Batikwa raised urgent concerns about the growing presence of foreign nationals obtaining mining licenses and exploiting Liberia's mineral resources without regard for community well-being and national benefit. A resident of the township of Virginia, Isaac Sagbe, a local businessman, has accused Virginia Township Commissioner Tenki Ducle of bad administrative and financial dealings, noting that the Virginia commissioner is in the habit of collecting money from individuals under the pretext of giving them squatter right. Mr. Sagbe also accused Commissioner Ducle of referring to the Liberal Land Authority, said the Virginia commissioner has increased municipal tax from LD 1,500 annually to USD 50. He called on national authorities to institute thorough investigation in the use of funds collected. In response to the allegations, Virginia Township, through its clerk, Jerry Connor, acknowledged that in 2024, Isaiah Segbe paid US 200 to the office of the commissioner, but have not gotten spot due to this agreement. According to Connor, he will ensure the funds of the local businessmen are refunded to avoid further claims and counterclaims. The Liberian delegation to ECOWAS Parliament has presented the country's report to the regional body. Presenting the report on behalf of the group, Representative Samuel Endos highlighted improvements in the Liberian economy, increase in national budget for 2026, among others. Representative Endos emphasized that Liberia's GDP is projected to grow at 5.4% in 2026 out of 4.6% in 2025. He attributed a growth in the economy and GDP to extension of agriculture, mining service, and infrastructure development. Representative Samuel Endos informed members of ECOWAS Parliament that for the first time, the Liberian economy has grown steadily to 1.2 billion in 2026. Monserrado County Representative Sumo Molba has vowed to abstain from voting on the House of Representatives proposed 14 new electoral districts. According to him, the process did not follow constitutional procedures, noting that it's important the House leadership revisit the decision. He noted the Constitution allows the legislature to create new districts and counties, but only under strict conditions, stating that conditions include minimum population and land size requirements, local consent, and proof that any area can be financially supported. He argued that the committee report did not explain how additional lawmakers could be funded, warning that more districts could increase government expenditures. The Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Alexander Nutak, said the ministry strengthens the agriculture systems and improves services to farmers across Liberia in the coming years. Dr. Nuta spoke day one of the Extension Conference in Ghana, praising Extension staff and technicians for their dedicated work, calling them the ministry's direct link to farming communities. Residents of St. 9th Street are expressing serious frustration over what they describe as mass demolition of homes and properties by the Ministry of Public Works during the festive season. Speaking to journalists, one of the community members who identified himself as Momo Messenger said the demolition exercise was carried out without proper engagement or arrangement with property owners, leaving several residents homeless. He added many families were taken by surprise, receiving sudden calls informing them that their homes were being turned down despite no official communication from authorities. And the Liberia Labor Congress, the Governors Alliance, has commended the management of Liberia Breweries Incorporated for suspending its human resource manager following allegations of persistent labor rights violations and abusive labor practices. On Monday, aggrieved employees of Moravia Breweries staged a protest accusing the resource manager of unfair labor practice and calling for his immediate resignation. The civil society organization has publicly endorsed the workers' union action, describing it as a necessary step to defend their integrity, rights, and future labor protection in Liberia. Speaking to King's FM Wednesday following the company's decision, Chief Executive Officers George Tengbe lauded the suspension, described it as a significant move toward addressing employees' concerns and safeguarding their rights.
I'd like to say many thanks to Sam Andrews for the bulletin of news. It is a regular feature of the King's News Broom, 45 minutes of news about Liberia and elsewhere. One of our top developments, Office of the Establishment, the World and Economic Crimes Code announces a plan to prosecute individuals captured as child soldiers during Liberia crisis. The office executive director, Councillor Jala Babu, says heinous crimes were committed by child soldiers. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you voices of the news makers. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's now take our first development. The Ministry of Agriculture, that's the Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Alexander Nunte, says the ministry is strengthening the agriculture system, improve services to farmers across Liberia. Dr. Nunte, who spoke on today one of the extension conference in Ghana, praised extension staff and technicians for their dedicated work, calling them the ministry's direct link to farming community. He described farmers as the ministry's value customers, adding that they must be treated with care and respect.
Recommended and you are hired, the value is yours to prove yourself. So we urge them to be serious, to go to the duty station, work hard, and we can do everything to build a capacity. But those who will not show seriousness, it means we have.
Now that the fair is on, what is in it for the librarians?
Well, this is part of the fair. We're going to be doing the teaching bunch work where the person will be speaking. Liberian people will be seeing their family display what they have done over the past 12 months. They will be seeing what is happening with innovation in the agriculture sector. They will be seeing some of the value addition activities that are taking place. So we urge our Liberian people to come and see their farmers, come and honor them, come and purchase what they have produced. And we urge our farmers to present their best.
As Liberia's Agriculture Minister Dr. Alexander noted there speaking. The executive director of the Office for the Establishment of the War and Economic Crimes Court has announced that all those captured as child soldiers during the Liberian Civil War will be held to account upon the establishment of the court. Councillor Jala Babu noted that those children, most of whom are now adults, are said to have committed heinous crimes during the Liberian Civil War. He made the disclosure when he spoke at the program marking the 27th celebration of the International Day for Human Rights Defenders organized by the Coalition for Human Rights Defenders in Monrovia on Tuesday.
As we proceed with the establishment of the court, that is the World Economic Crimes Court, the National Anti-Corruption Court, we emphasize the interest of children. There were many child soldiers during the civil crisis. Today they are adults, and people believe that they should be prosecuted for atrocities that they ascribe to them. While they may have their own issues today, the issues of the Civil War with respect to children are critical, and so we take that seriously. Respecting human rights is the bedrock of peace and reconciliation. I hold the view that it is because of the abuse of human rights in the past that we found our country in civil war, and even before the civil war, civil crisis. You see, when people's rights are abused and they reach a point, a make of determination that they don't have redress, they resort to violence. Sometimes they may not be what they want, but the ultimate result is violence. So it's important that we pay attention to respect human rights and ensure that it is defended. On that note, I challenge us to do the right thing, to stop misrepresentation, to stop the unwarranted attacks on our fellow human beings, and to stop taking news that are far from reality, and to stop making ourselves to appear more than who we are. Because you see, one of the things in this country is when people begin to say to other people, you know who I am? Let us stop the you know who I am and fall in line to the right thing. As we celebrate today, let us celebrate knowing that under the laws of Liberia, irrespective of status or age, everyone has a right. Once you're in this country legally, you have a right. Even those who are not in the country legally cannot be abused. Their rights must be protected.
The Independent National Commission on Human Rights has released what is termed as a damaging report on human rights institution situation in Liberia with rape, mysterious deaths, and disappearances, dominating the cases reported from several parts in the country. The chairperson of the Commission, Councillor Dempster Brown, disclosed that human rights monitors also reported cases of suspects dying in police custody. Councillor Brown made the disclosure at a program marking the observance of the commemoration of the International Human Rights Day organized by the Independent National Commission on Human Rights in collaboration with the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights.
According to our report, the monitors documented 38 rape cases. Besides the 38, we have 12 cases of mysterious death. We have cases of suspects dying in the police cell. The police is responsible to protect life and property. But if we have such report, they are going to come and say human rights business. You have to see exactly what is happening. You can't punish it like this. Because every day something must happen. Day before yesterday night, I was sleeping. They called me from River G. A 2-year-old girl, Mama, we are disappeared. Up to this time, the whole area is upside down. In some sweating. What is happening? When the issue of disappearances was too high, I went to the Minister of Justice again, and I asked him, I said, but do you know that people getting to disappear? A human rights lawyer, it's not easy. Your life is flexible. I always tell the people, when you want to kill me, you kill yourself. I'm going to die right now. I get it over when I die. I'm going to tell you, you are my children. And yesterday, when I was in my office, there's a gentleman that was killed before he came over to come out. The mother went to the crying. He was shot by a police officer. She said that we always hear you money there. We keep to you so that you will deal with the matter. I said, but we already investigating. I told you wrong. She said she went to the director of police, and the director of police apologized to her that he was going to bury Paul Moloba. He's still in the second one. But she said she won. Medical record said no. If the director of police said that they will bury him, then they bury him if you want to check on the marriage. You can sue the police. That is because Paul had 2 children. Who will take care of the children? We visited the house of Paul, and he was ready to tell us how he was killed. I entered the room with my monitor, took the blood all over the wall, and shot the man 8 times. This is the situation. Only the doctor responded to people who will be responsible is the Minister of Justice.
Councillor Dempster Brown is the chairperson of the Independent National Commission on Human Rights. They're speaking. The Ministry of Justice and partners are said to be drafting a national human rights action plan in order to protect human rights defenders in Liberia. The director of the Human Rights Department at the Ministry of Justice, Kutaka Tokpa, disclosed that the action plan is in line with international protocols and Convention on Human Rights and Defender. Tokpa made the disclosure at the 27th celebration of the International Day for Human Rights Defender organized by the Coalition of Human Rights Defenders in Monrovia recently.
We are working to ensure that we complete the 3rd National Human Rights Action Plan for Liberia. And for those of you who may have an understanding of the action plan, it incorporates the provisions in all of the core human rights treaties and convention, and identifies activities that, when implemented, human rights in Liberia will be improved. I also want to leave with us that the issue of human rights, especially economic, social, and cultural rights, are progressive and they are realized progressively. So we have begun to see some of the progressive steps the administration is taking to ensure that economic, social, and cultural rights are enhance the enjoyment and enhance. And we can take note of what will be done in the next 4 years to be able to measure the impact. So the importance of the human rights action plan is that we'll be able to identify all of those key areas, those key issues that need to be addressed, and then we'll put action points, and then we'll put budget lines, and then we can advocate for the requisite funding, like our sister said in her statement, for a human rights work require funds. Justice activities require funds. We realize that there are challenges for the protection of human rights, but the government has demonstrated the willingness to listen and act on some of these issues. To protect human rights defenders, the government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Justice, my office, with partnership of the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and the Coalition of Liberian Human Rights Defenders, have finalized a draft National Human Rights Defenders Protection Policy that went through national consultations involving a broad range of participants, including human rights defenders.
Up to this next development, the Liberia Labor Governance Alliance has commended the management of Morovia Club Buried Incorporated for suspending its human resource manager following allegation of persistent labor rights violation and abusive labor practices. On Monday, December 8, aggrieved employees of the Morovia Club Buried staged a protest accusing the resource manager of unfair labor practices and calling for his immediate resignation. The civil society organization has since publicly endorsed the workers' action, describing it as a necessary step to defend their dignity, rights, and the future of labor protection in Liberia. Speaking to King's News Wednesday following the company's decision, LA the LLGA Chief Executive Officer Josh Tembe lauded the suspension, describing it as a significant move towards addressing employees' concern and safeguarding their rights.
At the Liberal Labor and Governance Alliance, Liga, we firstly want to commend the step taken by the management of Monrovia Club Breweries on suspending or on the suspension of the human resource manager, giving series of grave allegations and emanating from worker abuse, mismanagement of the decent work act of Liberia, misapplication, wrongful dismissal, refusal to allow improvement in wages for workers that have worked with the entity for over 5 years. We are very happy that the management was willing to see that such allegations don't go unnoticed. However, we are also asking that the management do the following things. We want that the management conduct speedy investigation into this matter. We want that the management with immediate effect dismiss the human resource manager and any other person associating with crimes against workers. We want the management to create the Occupation Safety and Health Committee at Monrovia Club Brewery, and that committee should include representatives of the worker union, representative from the human resource management, and representative from any other model union that is supervising the worker union at Monrovia Club Brewery. Representatives should also come from the Ministry of Labor Tripartite Declaration Committee, so that when issues of such come about, there will be, people on the ground at first hand to visit and understand exactly what are these things. Because we listen when a worker said that his one was on shift, and that is a shift that has over 20 persons, but he was the only person on that shift that night, and because he was the only person, the workload was too heavy on him to the extent that caused wasted in his eye, and that management refused to support him He did not get any benefit, and up to present, he still live with that scar. We believe these things should never ever happen in our society. We understand that the violation of the Decent Work Act is
Josh Temba is the Chief Executive Officer of the Liberia Labor Governance Alliance there speaking. Well, we've have an hour now past the news presentation. This is a reminder that you're listening to the Wednesday, December 10th, 2025 edition of King's Newsroom. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments. Welcome back. The National Fishery and Aquaculture Authority has officially launched the preparation for the 2026 Fishery Investment Conference, an event designed to unlock new investment, expand innovation, and reposition Liberia's fishery and aquaculture sector. Launching the initiative in Monrovia, the acting Director General Saros Simwe described the conference as a transformative opportunity that will determine how Liberia manages, invests in, and drives value from one of its most critical natural resource sectors.
Today marks the beginning of our journey toward a landmark event scheduled for March 30th to 31st, 2026, which will convene global investors, innovators, policymakers, and leaders committed to sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. Our fisheries sector, while vital to national food security and economic activity, is currently surviving rather than progressing. Recognizing this, one of the major priorities of this government, led by His Excellency Joseph Gilman Boycott Sr., is to diversify revenue streams for the National Fisheries and Aquaculture Authority, moving away from our over-reliance on industrial vessel licensings toward more reliable and sustainable sources of revenue that will enable the authority to grow and deliver its mandate effectively. Against this background, NAFA, with approval from the Board of Directors, has developed a comprehensive resource mobilization strategy with the Fisheries Investment Conference serving as a key component of this strategy. This event is not merely a gathering, it is a platform to unlock investments, stimulate innovation, and forge partnerships that will underpin the modernization and expansion of the sector. In parallel, NAFA is developing several strategic instruments to guide the sector over the next decade. A 10-year fisheries strategic plan, a fisheries investment plan, and a dedicated aquaculture strategy. These foundational documents are expected to be officially launched during the conference in 2026, providing a clear roadmap for sustainable growth, private sector engagement, and community empowerment. To ensure the success of this landmark event, Golden Touch Corporation, our Liberian-owned, well-experienced, well-versatile, well-enacted, has been competitively recruited to lead the preparation and execution.
Up to the next development, a resident of the township of Virginia, Azael Semway, a local businessman, has accused Virginia Township Commissioner Tankid Dukley of bad administrative and financial dealing, noting that the Virginia Commissioner is in the habit of collecting money from individuals under the pretense of giving them quarter rights. Sebwit also accused Commissioner Dukley of referring to the Liberian Land Authority, said the Virginia Commission has increased municipal tax from 15,000 Liberian dollars to USD 50,000. He further called on national authority to initiate thorough investigation in the use of funds collected from businesses in the area, alleging that monies collected from businesses had been diverted into personal use.
Thorough investigation, and also for those in that authority to make her understand her role, because she's overstepping. She, as a township commissioner, cannot be defined a whole county commissioner. You understand? And then at the same time telling me or other people that the township, the land authority people are 419 people. She said that. She said that over and over. She said they are crooks. And I don't know for what reason the land authority, land commissioner is not reaching out to her again since he spoke with her on the phone. Everything has just been like that. Maybe for me, what I think is because he just want to keep that kind of good relationship and maintain peace. That's what I think. But for some reason, I think he should take step against her, and for the sake of others who are being victimized by her. We're not supposed to be paying the money, brother.
In response to the allegation, Virginia Township, through its clerk, Jerry Conan, acknowledged that in 2024, Isaiah Semwade paid USD 200 to the office of the commissioner, but have yet to gotten spot due to this agreement. According to Conan, he will ensure the funds of the local businessmen are refunded to avoid further claims and counterclaims.
Issue of reform is the law within the purview of the commission. She have the right to give permission for reform. I only a clerk at work per the instruction being given to me as a clerk.
Are you aware of any discussion taking place between Isaiah, the commissioner, and that of the land commission in Montserrat County in regards to money being paid to the land authority for Isaiah to be given a land space?
Thank Shimon. What I want to say is that I don't know when or how Isaiah went and pay money to land commissioner does not work there. So I do strongly believe that it will be good and do another interview from that angle, and there should be an evidence be given to us, giving authorization as a form of reform. Even though only the local government or only the squatter right knows, when you pay money, that money is not be refundable. If you cannot occupy the place, all they do, they can relocate you. But for the sake and looking at the kind of condition that I'm going through, we'll talk to the commissioner and just I do strongly believe that you see a necessary for his money to be reformed.
The Liberian delegation to ECOWAS Parliament has presented the country's report to the regional body. Presenting the report on behalf of the group, Representative Samuel Endos highlighted improvements in Liberia economic increase in the national budget for 2026, among others. Representative Endos emphasized that Liberia's GDP is projected to grow at 5.4% in 2026, out of 4.6% in 2025.
A key look at the 2026 budget show real GDP is projected to grow about 5.4% in 2026, up to 4.6% in 2025. Key drivers have been expansion in agriculture, mining, service, and infrastructure development, as inflation is expected to moderate 5.1%. Maintaining a single-digit trend wide prudent fiscal measures and improved domestic revenue collection and prudent microfinance stability. The general economic situation is best captured in the just released the Little Challenge Compact report, the MCC report of 2024, which are released in 2025. While its polls indicate the struggle in some economic indicators, such as natural resources, protection, and business setup, which are believed to be linked to more broader challenges in the economic framework. However, significant improvements have been reported in the areas of fiscal policy, inflation control, and access to credit. We are all aware that lower inflation rate often reflects in lower prices in basic commodities and services in general economic context. Also, access to credit means the more likely it is for small business, which are the engine of economic growth, to thrive, thereby leading to job creation. On the other hand, some recent economic improvement have been noted with a decrease in the fiscal deficit and increase in exports, driving some growth, while on the other hand, tangentially note for the first time, Nigerian national budgets have been able to reach $1.2 billion. My habit consequently formulated in the context of the medium-term expenditure framework, the multi-year program budgeting and provided amendment and restatement Public Financial Management Act of 2009. Nigeria has also mainstreamed gathering, budgeting, and planning alongside multi-colored budgeting and planning in the national budget framework for 2026. Nigeria will also be transitioning to the value-added tax.
And now this development before our foreign news. Residents of Cinco das Nav streets are expressing serious frustration over what they describe as demolition of homes and properties by the Ministry of Public Works during the festive season. Speaking to journalists, one of the community members who is identified as Momo Messenger said the demolition exercise was carried out without any proper engagement or arrangement with property owners, leaving several residents homeless.
Yes, I've observed the Lebron National Police, the MCC, and all the public where they are moving the squadron of people who spend hours in that to purchase this container. At the end of the day, they are going with tears, they are going with frustration. However, development comes with pain, but the government has to sit down along with the people to see how best to settle some of them coming in immediately to cause such a thing that people pledge here. It's very much difficult, it's unbelievable. I think that's why it's this and that. We all voted for this government, but they are proceeding the wrong way, this and that. The reason people criticizing the timing, you are looking at the timing days of 60 months, people are hustling this and that. Right after the season, you can come back in the community, you send your team to see how better they can sit down with people who have continued to say, my people, we have our news, we want for us to sit down to see how bad to solve the issue. But coming in the season month, people have bought sufficient goods that place in a very continual and becoming destroying it. So at the end of the day, that pain, that frustration, really, it's unbelievable. Really, it is my government. I've looked at, but they are proceeding the wrong way. This and that. But for me, I have a business in Ghana.
And now on the way from whom rebel forces have entered the last government head seated in mineral-rich Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in an offensive that has forced thousands to flee across the border into Burundi, residents say. Heavy artillery and gunfire could be heard in Viarat, with terrified residents describing the situation as chaotic. The escalation in fighting comes despite the peace deal broke by U.S. President Donald Trump between DR Congo and Rwanda to end the long-lasting conflict. The M23 rebel group said it had liberated the city, while UN-backed Radio quoted residents as saying that rebel fighters were on major streets. And elsewhere, a senior government official in Benin has told the BBC that the leader of Sunday's failed coup is taking refuge in neighboring Togo. Speaking on condition of the official said the government who requested Lieutenant Pascal Tigred's extradition, Togo's government has not yet commented. The failed coup came after the series of military takeovers in West Africa, raising concern that democracy is increasingly under threat in the region. Well, this is how we got home on today's edition of the news program. But before we take leave of you, reminder of top stories we close the phone. Office of the Establishment of the World and Economic Crimes Code announces plans to prosecute individual captured as child soldiers during Liberia crisis. The office executive director, Councillor Jala Babu, says India's crimes were committed by child soldiers. Liberia National Bar Association President, Councillor Bono Vaman, says Liberia's main challenge remains access to legal representation, basically for the poor, the detained, the marginalized, and those living in rural areas. Grand Crew County Senator nominee Bati Kwal calls for institutionalization of National Sanitation Day as he presents bill to the Liberian Senate. Away from home, rebels have entered the government head seated in mineral-rich Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in an offensive that has forced thousands to flee across the border in Burundi, residents say. A Syrian government official in Benin has told the BBC that the leader of Sonnet's failed coup is taking refuge in neighboring Togo. This note, we'd like to say many thanks to our reporters and editors for making today's news presentation a success. Sam Andrews was here with the news bulletin, and Marvin via Sada Control and ably coordinated the sound. I'm Stephen Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.